Alright, so how's it going, everyone? Today I wanted to make a fishing tutorial video, I guess it would be, about sword fishing. Sword fishing is probably one of my favorite types of fishing to do, and swordfish is my favorite type of fish. And I've done it a bunch, so I figured why not share to everyone. I've done like swordfish speeches for classes in school just for the grade and stuff. Did pretty well on it. They always mark me off on it though for making it too long, which I guess for this, finally it might be a good thing because now I can put in bunch of information finally. So I'm going to show you how to do pretty much everything, and yeah, let's get to this, because lately the weather, actually today is the first nice day outside, and I figured I was trying to think of what kind of fishing stuff I could do while it's been ridiculously windy, the ocean's been rough. I'm going to show you how to do what you need to start sword fishing, the tackle, the gear, rods, reels, all that. How to rig squid a couple different ways. I'm going to show you the rigging that's going to be required for setting your lines and everything. And I'm going to try and get on my boat to show you during the daytime, because I've tried recording before at night while sword fishing to try and show it. Totally doesn't work, so I'm going to have to do it during the day. So I'm going to try and get on the boat and show you how to set the lines and everything. So I'm going to try and cover everything there is about sword fishing that I've done that I know works. So let's hop into this. In this video, it's going to be about nighttime sword fishing, where you're drifting out in the ocean like 20 miles out, not daytime fishing, which I guess has been more popular. It's pretty much the same sort of. It's the same idea. It's pretty similar. It's just a lot of different rigging, but I'm not really too much into the daytiming. I like going out at night. It's a lot cooler to me. So this is going to be showing you how to nighttime sword fish.
These two are pulling out a swordfish we just caught. Look at this. This is straight monster fishing.
You want to lift it over? 1, 2, 3, go.
Alright, here we go. They're going to lift that bitch over.
Ready?
Oh! Too heavy?
Ready?
Look at this son of a holy shit! Look at this thing.
Keep them like this and you will should it.
Yeah.
Jump in and close that. Hell yeah! That's a good damn fish. There we go. Good job, you made it on it.
Alright, so here I've gathered everything you're going to need for sword fishing. So just briefly showing, I'm going to go more in depth with it, but we got rods. I used two types of rods. I got, can't see it now, but one's a bent butt and the other is a straight butt rod. So I'm going to show the difference between those. Usually I use 4, but sometimes you can use 5, and then I've used 6 before. You have 3 float rods and then 2 tip rods, which I'll explain the difference between those. And then one just chilling in the water with no weight on it at all or anything. Then we got a harpoon, then a map in the middle. I'll break up the harpoon and show you how that's put together and everything. Then we got a good, it's a nice tag stick. Sometimes you tag the smaller pup swordfish, they're called, that are 47 inches below those that you can't keep. You need a good gap. Got this light. It's a sword light, but there's another one, Hydro Glow. I like the sword light a lot better though. We got a harness, which I never use, but I'll explain why with that. Gloves, lights, bunches of lights, weights. These are buoys that I'll show you what that's for. And some flat waxed floss. And then we got some hooks at the leader. I'm going to show that with the rigging, rubber bands, and anything else. I'll get more into that. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the rods and reels I use for the sword fishing. So, here first, this one, only different. See, it's got a bent butt to it, so on the rod holder it sits like this at an angle. So for this rod, I call it a tip rod, which is going to be, it's just going to have the bait with a weight, and it's going to go straight down with no buoy on it. And the reel, this is a 50 wide, Alutechnos, the company, and the rod I actually made this myself, so I like this one a lot. And I got a swivel tip on it here, which for the style of fishing I do sword fishing with, it helps. The swivel tip, also I use it, I double it for deep dropping. So yeah, so for the line on it, this one I believe is 120 pound Buoy hollow core, the blue, and then I have a wind on leader with it, which I think it should be a 300 pound. It's either 300 or 250 pound, which the wind on leader helps out a lot, so you don't have really long leaders. And then the only leader you have is probably like a 5-foot leader, still the same pound test, which I'll show you when I show how to rig squid. And then I have it with a bimini twist, and then on it I have a couple of markers, which I'll show you how to put on with wax thread that I use to attach my weight and light to. So this is what we'd be using for a tip rod. For the rod with the float, it's just the same setup pretty much, but with a straight butt, so it sits in the rod holder. And this has the same setup on it, except I think this is 120 pound Jerry Brown line, I believe, which I like the hollow core, or even like Power Pro with the braided line a lot better, because even with how much line you're going to be putting out, because you're going to be putting baits down to 300 feet, 250, 250 feet, 120 feet. Those are usually the depths I put baits at. And then they're going to be out away from the boat. And even with the braided line hollow core, a lot of the time you can see the bites. You'll see like your rod tip bounce. And that's really cool. It's really good to know. Sometimes, but I also use monofilament. And with that, sometimes you can't tell, and all you'll hear is just the drag going. Even sometimes, like all you hear is a bite. It'll just be like a couple of clicks, and that's all you know. Then there's a fish on, and that's what sword fishing usually is, probably like one of the most boring fishing, because all you're doing is setting your lines out and then wait. And then it gets really exciting. But yeah, that's for what I use for rods. We'll usually use like 4 of these. People even use 80 wides, but pretty much use what you got. I know I've used 30 wides before for swordfish, and a lot of people use like TLD 25s with Shimano. I know there's a couple of guys that do that. But yeah, pretty much you can use whatever you want. It doesn't matter, because my experience, I haven't had a swordfish pull off a lot of line yet. Like I've had them do some pretty big runs, but I haven't had anything where I've almost got spooled or anything. But they do that, and I have heard a lot of people have had that happen to them. So you do need some big tackle, some good tackle. So yeah, I keep talking about lights, weights, and buoys and stuff, and you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about. We got, since it's nighttime fishing, what you're gonna want to do is, if you ask like 15 people who swordfish, you're gonna get 15 different ways to swordfish. This is how I've done it. I've tried a bunch of different ways, and this is my favorite way so far. I'll show you a couple of different ways on how I rig everything up, but that's when I'm gonna be on the boat and showing how to set the lines and everything. So what we got for lights? For lights, we got, can't really tell right now. I'll take a picture at night so you can see the different colors of lights. But right now, this one's a blue light. This one, sometimes I just have a snap swivel on it. I'll just hook that on the line somewhere. I'll tie it up with a rubber band on the line. Make sure the clip is on the line. And just for that, this adds a pretty good amount of light in the water. But pretty much what the light's doing is, it's gonna, one, swordfish swimming around, it comes by, is gonna be, what the heck is that light doing? Come check it out. He's gonna find your bait. So this is one type of light we use. Another type, which these are all gonna be pretty similar to each other, they're just gonna look a little bit different, is this one is a Seamaster light, and it's water activated, so I can't really show. There's got these 2 screws here, and once water contacts them, it turns on. But this one's either like a multicolor one or a blue-green one. And it's got a long line clip on it, which is right here. And really good tip for everyone, don't trust anybody to put the long line clips on your line. Do it yourself. These dang lights are really expensive, and it sucks having to watch it fall to the bottom of the ocean because it's a light. But how the long line clips work is, this is going to be your line, say, and you're going to want to put the line on the inside of the hook, like this, so it goes through, and then it snaps on, and The pressure of it keeps it, I mean, it will slide sometimes like that, you can see. But for the most part, I'll keep it on, and I'll show you how to put the wax line on the line so that it won't slide as easy. But a lot of times people, what they'll do is they'll take it and they'll put the line here like this. So it's like that, and this is when it falls off and you lose it and you get to watch your light fall to the bottom of the ocean, which isn't fun. So that's how you're going to attach it, but I'll show that more once I'm showing how to set the lines out. And also you can see I have a weight crimped on with some leader, because I used to do it with like this one, which is looks like copper wire. Pretty much is. It's a telephone wire, so it's coated. And I used to use this, and I'd put it on the same way how it's on here, but I'd like it easier so you could just pull it right. You just pull the weight off, or if the fish shook enough, the weight would come off. But lead got really expensive, so I resulted to this, which could be a little bit dangerous once it comes up to the boat. And this 24-ounce weight shaking around, but all you do when it comes up to the boat, you're gonna grab it, and I'm gonna show you how to do that later. Then same setup pretty much, just different light. This one, I'll take a picture at night. Like I said, you can see a blue light in it. It's a blue-white light. Blue-white is my favorite color next to purple for sword fishing. Again, here's another light. This one's green, can't tell, but same thing. But you're gonna need as many of these for however many rods you're fishing. Then these lights, which one? One of them was flashing. Of course, now it stopped flashing, but these are LP Lindgren Pittman lights. Usually people use them for deep dropping, but I like them for sword fishing, and pretty much they're just strobe lights in different colors. I got white, purple, blue, green. I've had red, I think, but I like the white and the purple the best on them. And these I put on the snap swivels on the rods, which I will show that later on how it works. And these just add some action. The light, pretty much, like I was saying before, if there's swordfish around, it's gonna come check out the light, then it's just gonna see squid or whatever bait you're using. And also the food chain, how it's supposed to work. Same with when I get into the sword light, is the light's gonna attract smaller fish, which in turn attract bigger fish, and then hopefully so on until swordfish. But who knows? Who knows how that works? You just put the lights on. But that's like that's like how it's supposed to work. But who knows? There's probably just swordfish swimming around out there, wondering, oh, what the heck's that light? Come check it out. These are the buoys I keep talking about. I have no idea where to get these because my friend gave them to me. But these buoys, you can also use balloons for the same thing, which I'll show you later on how to hook up to your lines. And I got long line clips on them. And with these, you're going to want to taking a glow stick, which you'll need a bunch of these. Pretty much they're going to fit into the top like this. So these are floating, and on your float rods, not the tip rod, it's going to be showing your location of the bait. So pretty much what the floats are doing are letting you fish more lines, so that once you put the bait down, it's going to be way easier to explain this as I'm showing it. But once you're putting the bait down and the float out, the float's going to take the line away from the boat, so then you can get more lines out. And you're going to be needing wax floss, like I said. This thing will come in handy for rigging squid, and also for wax loops on some of your lines. Rubber bands, you can use them for whatever. You always need them. That's always a good thing. And gloves, of course. Gloves. I don't know, I just got these at Walmart. They're leather. They're pretty good. I like them. They also make double leathered ones, which I'd probably recommend those over. I think these are like single leather, because swordfish bills are very, very sharp. So now I'm going to show you swordfish bill and how to properly handle one. Now I'm going to show you how to handle a swordfish and its bill. So I got it right here. These are a couple swordfish bills, which this one my buddy gave me. I think this is from a 300 to 350 pound swordfish. Pretty big. And this is one I caught from it was a 152 pound swordfish, which I know it's that weight because it was in a tournament. And yeah, they're called a swordfish for a reason, because one, these look like swords. And two, you could use it for a sword. These things right now, it's like decaying a little bit, but this is an untreated one. But as you can see, they're flat and then pretty skinny. Unlike a marlin, which is a circle, and sailfish, which are circle, and those bills are more rough. The swordfish one is really smooth, but on the edges, it's like a sword. It's very sharp. It's even sharper when it's alive on the fish, because then it has some more cartilage and stuff on it, and it's a lot smoother, and this will have no problem cutting you. These type of gloves, pretty much every boat has them on. Don't use these, leave these at home. This is for like dolphin fishing or something. Like I said, these double leather gloves are a lot better for you, and it'll help protect your hands because bills are very sharp. Swordfish, think sword. So, alright, so when you catch your swordfish finally, it's going to come up to the boat and it's going to be shaking its head a lot like this. So you're going to have to time it when it's about as calm as it gets. And if it's a smaller fish, they are sometimes worse because they just go crazy. I've had small fish almost jump into the boat, which that was pretty crazy. Pretty dangerous fish to handle, but you're just going to want to time when the fish is going to come up. If it's dead, if you gaff it, or harpoon it. And if it's pretty much dead, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much, but pretty much that's just going to happen. The fish, ideally, is going to come up to the boat, and you're going to reach over, and you're going to grab it like this. So you have your thumbs together. This also applies to marlin and sailfish, with your thumbs together. Otherwise, so when the fish is shaking, it's a lot harder for it to hit you with the bill. Now, say you grab it one overhand on one side and underhand on the other, so now when the fish is shaking, your arm can move and potentially get hit in the neck with this. Your head might not come off, but it might get pretty close to it. So if any of those ways, either way, even if it's this way, the whole back end of the fish shaking, your arm's going to bend a lot easier. So you're always going to want to do it with your thumbs together. Think of that. So you have a lot more control of it. So you're going to want to grab it, and then you're going to have hopefully another person with you. They can go ahead and gaff the fish, help you bring it in, pull it in, however the heck you're going to get it in, depending on the size. So yeah, always remember that. Even with sailfish, marlin, swordfish, always grab it with your thumbs together. That's the safest way to do it. You can, sometimes, smaller fish, yeah, you can grab it with one hand. It's still dangerous. It's a very dangerous fish because it has a sword, which is very sharp. So always respect the fish like that, and this is the best way to grab it. Now what I'm going to show you is a harness. So harness makes stand-up fishing for swordfish a lot easier, any big fish or anything like that. It makes it easier and a lot more comfortable than using your typical belt. So this is the braid harness. I'm not sure of the actual style or whatever its specific name is, but it's a pretty basic one. It's like a little bucket seat and everything. These come all different shapes and sizes, but I like the braid one when I first started fishing. And I don't use the harness. I fight any swordfish or any whatever fish we hook out there. I fight it straight out of the rod holder because first time, so yeah, that was great experience. First time I ever went sword fishing, we caught a pretty big swordfish, and I was wearing the harness. And what's dangerous about it is the rod's attached to the fish. You're attached to the rod, and I almost went into the water because the boat rocked and my back hit the rocket launcher on the boat. And I almost went over the side. I was over the side, and luckily my buddy was right next to me and grabbed onto me and reached down and lowered the drag so the line could get pulled off and pulled me back into the boat. And needless to say, that scared the out of me. And I have never worn a harness since, and I won't. And I don't like it. People say it's more sporty or whatever. You're just meat fishing when you're got the rod in the rod holder. Yes, I want to catch a swordfish and eat the damn thing. But yeah, I'm going to show you how to use it though. So pretty much what it's going to do, it's going to be a fish, so you're going to have to be doing this a lot faster, but pretty much going to clip into it. So it's on you like this. You're gonna wanna probably make sure everything's fit and ready to go beforehand. And these clips are gonna go onto the rod. These clips are gonna come down to your rod holder part of it. This way, I liked it this way better with the drop down straps. I actually need to adjust it a little bit, but for this, it'll work fine. So it's gonna look like this. So this is gonna wanna go to your rod. And for stand-up fishing like this, if you were gonna just do that, I would recommend getting all your rods with a bent butt, because this makes it a lot better. And the guy needs to lower his engines when he's getting on plane. Also, it's a lot of the time people I've been on boats that I've gone sword fishing with, they'll have the chair butts, which are the extra big ones, and those are a pain in this. And either the curved ones or the straight butts that are made for a fighting chair or deep dropping like that sort of deal, they're a lot bigger and it makes it a lot harder for stand-up fishing. But for this, I'll use the short bent butt, which is more so made for this. Yeah, this needs to come up a little bit higher, but pretty much it's going to be like that. You're going to clip the clips in here like this. Going to make sure they want to be on the outside, and for what this needs to come up a little more. You're gonna want it like just above your knees a little bit, but this will work. And pretty much, the fish is gonna be pulling. You're gonna want your legs bent and about as wide as you can, so you can legs apart about as wide as you can, so you have better balance, rock the boat. That's what I didn't do when I almost got pulled in. I had my legs a little bit close. I remember it. So you're gonna want to have that, and it's a lot easier if there's weight on it, but pretty much you're going to keep your legs bent. And I see a lot of people when they're pumping, they use your arms. You don't want to use your arms at all. That's what gets you really tired. You're going to want to use your back, your lower back, and your legs for all of this. So the fish is going to be pulling you, and you're going to want to be with your knees bent, just leaning back. And that's pretty much all you're going to want to do. You're just going to reel. You're using your weight to fight the fish instead of your arms, which however much you weigh, that's how much more pressure you're putting on the fish. Typically drags, a lot of people say swordfish have soft mouths, so they're gonna use, some people that use like 7 pounds of drag. I had a friend who was using like 7 or 10 pounds of drag, and it took them 6 hours to catch a swordfish, and we stayed out there with them the whole time. That was not fun for us, but for them that was good. I use anywhere between 20 to 30 pounds at strike, which is just before full on a reel, if you know what a lever drag reel is, which that's on the heavy side. But even I know some guys that use like 40 and 50 pound drag at strike or full or whatever. And I like the heavier drags for that, but if you're going to be in a harness, I'd recommend probably like 15, depending on if you're heavier. I'm really skinny and light, so I'd probably go less than that, which I probably should have when first time I used it. But since I fish out of the rod holder, I use 20 to 30, well not 30, like 20 to 25 pounds of drag at strike. So when the fish is pulling, and then all you're going to want to do is bend your knees. So as you see, when you bend your knees, it raises the rod, and when it's up here, then you're going to want to, as you straighten your legs, you're going to want to reel down and reel down. That's pretty much all it is. You're just going to be doing that for a long time until the swordfish comes up to the boat. But when you're fishing it out of the rod holder, you're going to use whenever the boat rocks. It's going to pretty much do the same thing. When the boat rocks to one side, it's going to lift the rod up, and then as the boat rocks back, it's going to lower the rod tip down. So it's going to be pretty much the same thing. It's just out of the rod holder and not in the harness, which I'm scared of the harness, so I don't do that. So that's that. All right, so now I'm going to give you an idea of where to start sword fishing. I'm only truly familiar with my area around Jupiter and West Palm Beach, Florida, which are right here on this map. And sometimes I've drifted up here to St. Lucie Inlet, but this is a chart by Homeport Charts. It's a really good one. It's made for swordfish deep drop, which shows more of the deeper water areas as opposed to other maps that are going to show more over here towards land in the shallower waters. But this one covers all the way down Lighthouse Point, and I think on the other side it covers maybe down, or well, it's gonna cover down to Pompano Beach because that's what it says right there. All right, so almost all of my fishing, like I said before, is done around right here in this area, which this is Palm Beach Inlet right here. I'm up at Jupiter Inlet, and most of all the people I fish with on their boats and such are out at Jupiter Inlet. So we'll either, depending on the weather, we'll run the intercoastal down to Palm Beach Inlet, go out there, or we'll just make the run from there, which from Jupiter to Palm Beach Inlet, which is about like 13 miles, I believe. So we'll get out here off Palm Beach, and this chart you can buy anywhere. Typical starting spot, we'll start around here at V Spot, or this other place called 45 Square. And as you can see, these dark spots here on the map are all, I guess it would be underwater, like mountains and canyons. Around here it's like 1,200 to out here 1,600. Usually I like personally staying in the shallower waters of that, of 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 feet, but sometimes you got to go out deeper if nothing's happening and go check that out. But typically I like to be there. You can fish, come straight out here, mark these in the GPS, come straight out, you can fish one, that. What I like to do, and what a couple of my friends like to do when we go, is when we try and go out, typically you're going to drift north with the Gulf Stream, because now you're out pretty far out in the Gulf Stream, so you're going to be drifting north. Now what you're going to want to do is, say you're going to go out here to V Spot, and you're probably going to go a mile south of it, whichever way east of it if you're sort of drifting in, west of it if you're sort of drifting out. So you're going to want to figure out which way you're drifting. Hell, even sometimes we've drifted south, which is totally weird. But yes, so what you're going to want to do is, say you're going to go here, and you want to probably set up a mile away from it, because it's going to usually, probably by the time, if you're drifting pretty fast, probably about that time, you'll have all your lines out and set, ready to go, and you'll be here. So what you're going to try and do is, like I said, you're going to try and figure out which way you're going to drift, and you're going to want to drift all the way through here. So if you can time it just right, you'll be able to drift through all straight here in the middle of them. And for my experience, where we've got the most bites are on the downside of the mountain. Not so much leading up to them, but once you come over them, that's when I've got a lot more bites, when the baits are right over the, right when it starts to get deep again. But these areas are good because it's as you can see, there's nothing out here until you get into the reef in like 50 feet of water. So these are spots where it's going to attract other fish, and hopefully the swordfish. Down here, this area, typically, I'm not sure, this is Boca Raton Inlet, and I know they call it the 50 line, which, where is it on here? There's 49, here's the 50 line marker, so typically they're going to be out here in like 1,200 feet. I guess there's Boca Canyon, I don't know, I've only fished down there a couple times, I'm not too familiar with it. But for me here, and swordfish you can catch all over the world, so that's what we look for here. And I'm sure in your area you can get a chart like this and figure it out pretty much anywhere where there's going to be other fish, deep water they like. And as you can see here, that's going to show you the size limit. Swordfish, they got to be 47 inches from the lower jaw to the fork of the tail, which that's probably about 50-pound fish at 47 inches. So, all right, so now I'm going to show you how to rig a squid for swordfish. And so as you can see, we got 2 squid here, which I'm waiting to thaw out, so I figured I'd do this part now. The rigs, so there's probably a bunch of other different ways to rig squid, but this is the 2 ways I do it. You can see we got 2 rigs. The hooks, these are Lindgren and Pittman LP hooks. I believe they are, I want to say a 10-0 hook, but they got a little offset to them, as you can see. But these are the typical swordfish hook that everyone uses, and there's whatever other hook will work too, but I like this hook, and they're pretty sharp. You can sharpen them a little if you want, but this is usually what I almost always use. Sometimes I'll use same size, the mustad hooks, I like those, but hook doesn't really matter, but I just use these because that's what I've always used. And on this one, it's a 300-pound test monofilament leader, which is about 5 feet long. I'd say you don't really, this part of the leader doesn't need to be long because you have your wind-on leader. so then you don't have to worry too much about having a lot of leader in the water. Once the swivel touches the tip of the rod, the swordfish is going to be about 5 feet away, and that's perfect length to harpoon it, gaff it, bill it, whatever. But on this rig, all it is a crimp, 300-pound crimp, and then this is just a regular straw that I cut. The straw, it's going to vary because it's going to probably be a one-time use every time, but pretty much with the straw, and this is a tri-bead, a round bead would be better, but tri-bead will work for this. Pretty much with the straw is, so here as you can see as I lay it next to the bait, pretty much what the straw is going to be doing, what you're going to be doing is putting the line through the body of the squid, and it's going to come out here at the tip, which these are its fins right here, as you can see. The line's going to come out here, so what the stopper is doing is it's going to stop right here, and it won't pull out of the squid, so the hook will be free in here, but I'm going to have to adjust it because it's a different size squid from the last one. But it'll be easier to see once I rig it up. But this is one way to do it, though it's the one thing, I don't know if I've ever had it happen to me, but someone told me, and it made pretty good sense to me, that the one possible downside to this rig is, as you can see, the bead is here. If a fish bites it up here and it doesn't get down here by the hook, if it slides through its mouth, like pretend my fingers are the mouth, its mouth can get caught on the bead and it won't get the hook. So it's like that. And you're not going to catch a fish unless the fish just holds on to the leader the whole time, which I don't know if that's ever happened to me at some of these bites, but I mean, it makes sense to me. And then the other way I have here is just a hook with some leader, crimped on, same hook, everything, same leader. And with this way I'm going to show is without the bead, all you're really going to do is you're going to stick the leader through it and poke it out the end here, and then you're just going to stitch it in with some wax floss, and that's the rig, which you're going to want, I forget all the names for the parts of the squid now. It's been a little bit since I've rigged one, but here you can see this is the head, and if I could get it, I believe this is called the mantle here. So as you can see is this will go all the way up and your leader will go into there perfectly fine and poke out the end. It's going to take some work, but to make it easier, I believe there's like some kind of metal rigging straw it's called, which I tried using that, but I always lost it. All I do is you can see if it'll focus. I just cut the leader as sharp as I can to a point, and that's usually good enough to get it through. Other things, got the wax floss. We got dye, I'll show this, but I got blue and red. I like making purple out of it for my squid. I've had a lot of bites on purple, I think, and also red, because I think red is actually the natural color of squid when they're irritated. These are a little bit red because they're a little bit older, but if you buy new squid, they're going to be more brown. I think it's when the squid are swimming around and they get agitated or whatever, they turn red. And I forget what other color. I think they turn several other colors, but red I think means like they're distressed or they're injured or something. So I want to say if a swordfish sees it, maybe it's more prone to attacking it because it might think it's injured because it's red. But who knows? This is like 300 feet under the water and pitch black. They can even see that. But swordfish have really big eyes, so they could see. Rigging needle and a knife. So that's all you're going to need. All right, so let's rig this. So the first way I'm going to show is with the straw method. This way, it's fairly easy. So you can either put it through so that the hook will come through here, just this little part, so it won't pull all the way out. Or you can do it the way how I'm going to do it, is you just slide it in and it's done. So this is going to be the top part of the squid. You can tell that because it's got a little cartilage part right here, and this is the top half of it. So you're going to just pretty much stick it right underneath, and you can feel it sliding through. And because you cut the tip of the leader to be sharp, it makes it all the way through. And then the annoying part is to get it to come out the tip. Our time it actually came out pretty good. But see right here how the leader came out of the tip like this. how it came out of the tip of the squid. Perfect. So just gonna pull it. And then now bead with the straw. It's gonna come into the bait. Gotta make it fit a little bit. And you're good. That's it. So, as you can see, it hangs pretty nice. Just like that. This way, pretty easy. You could sew it in if you want so that it doesn't pull it, but when it's in the water, it'll inflate itself because of the water, and it'll look good just swimming there. So, that's a squid bait. Pretty easy. And then you're going to want to crimp the end of it. I don't have crimpers here, else I'd show you, but crimp pretty much all it is like comes into a circle, you clip that on the line, you're good to go. Now I will show, I don't really have a name for it, the other method we'll call it. So on this one, the leader I didn't cut before, so I'm going to try and cut it to a point as best as I can. Now, unlike the straw method, this way it's going to be in the skin of the bait. So it's probably going to be, the hook is probably going to be about here. So you're going to want to find where you're going to want to set the hook in the bait. So you're going to want the bottom part of the hook right here is going to set. So you're just going to push that. It's going to make a little dent in the bait. So all you're going to... Alright, so unlike the straw method, this one, the hook is going to go into the skin of the squid. So you're just going to pretty much see where in the, depending, because the squid can be different sizes and everything, it's going to be different every time. So here I'm going to want the hook to come out here. So you're going to push the hook down, make a little indentation in the squid, and you're going to take a knife and you're going to make a little cut. Like so. Just to make this fit easier. Alright, hopefully there won't be any more boats going by. So you made your slit in the squid. So now you're going to take the tag end of the leader and you're going to fit it into the slit. And you're going to do the same thing and feel its way up the body of the squid. Sometimes it gets caught. Comes out of there. Ah! So here, and then now it's going to come out the end of the squid. Like here you can see. And there it is again, to the end. And you're just going to pull it up. And then you're going to fit the crimp in. That's what the slit helps for. And then now the hook. And it's going to sit in the bait like this. Here you want to make sure you want to try and get it as low in the body of the squid as you can, because a lot of the time swordfish will just come up and cut the head off, and all you'll come back with all this and no head, and it was right there at the end of the hook, which is kind of frustrating. But this way, now you're going to have to sew it, because otherwise this will slide down the line and it'll just bunch up on a thing. That's why the other method with the straw is better, because it won't bunch up down on the hook. So here you're going to just want to feel where the eye of the hook is. So I have an idea, it's right there. And you're going to take your rigging needle and put it through, all the way through. So it's like this, and you want to twist the hook to tell if the rigging needle is through the eye of the hook, and if the needle moves, it's in there. Now, take your wax floss, then put it on the eye of the needle, and pull it through. So that came through. So now the wax floss is through the squid and the eye of the hook. And all you're going to do, no special fishing knots right here, tie it. It's better if you make sure best hook's poked out like that. And then we're just gonna tie a bunch of, I guess they're called overhand knots. Just gonna do that. So then it's going to be like that. See, this way it does make it, you can see how the squid can sort of bunch up, but I haven't ever had any problems with it, and I've used this way the most, other than the straw method. But that's how you do that, and you just clip this off. So now I'm going to show how you dye the squid, which is pretty straightforward. I like using the bag. Also, pro tip, do this before you go out, because I've done it. You can use a bucket also, but if put a bunch of dye in a bucket on a boat going out, bouncing around, gets dye everywhere, makes people not too happy. But this is probably the easiest way. You could put a couple squid to a bag, but all I do, you just put it in, put a few drips of dye. This one's red dye. Some people I've seen, they'll do this purposely. They'll put like spots on the squid and they'll just let it sit. But I just put, I don't even know how much. This is just regular food coloring, so whatever, it doesn't really matter. We got some blue. I want to make this one purple. Put it in. So I'll probably put more water, but I'm just using this for right now. And it's easier if you set it up somewhere against something so that all of it's covered the dye, and then as you can see slowly it's turned a little bit purple right there. It's got some red, but yeah, that's all you do for that. And then I'll usually do this like an hour or so before I go out. I'll just let them sit on this in the cooler. And then once you get out there, just hook it right on. I mean, you could freeze it like this with the dye, I don't know, but I just do it like that. So yeah, that's how you rig a squid. It's fairly easy. You just gotta try it a couple of times. It's not anything too complicated. All right, so we're out here and you got all your stuff rigged up. So now it's time to swordfish. Now you'll be way out that way. I'm just out here just far enough. It's like 30 feet of water, so this should be plenty enough to get the lines out and to show you how to set up everything. So you stop. First thing you're usually going to do is get your baits ready and everything, and then someone's going to be putting out the sword light, or, well, I mean, that's pretty much what it's called, sword light, but this is like a fluorescent light that's a waterproof, and this one happens to be a green bulb and a white bulb, so it puts two colors out. Usually they're probably going to be green, but this is from the company Sword Light. I know there's another company called Hydroglow, and I like this one a lot better because if you can hear it's got like, I think it's got like a bunch of lead BBs in it or something, and it's a lot heavier, so it sinks. Now with this light, what you're going to want to do is figure out which way you're drifting. So alright, so now it's starting to drift a little bit underneath the boat, which is actually what you want with the sword light. So you're going to put it in the water, you're going to put it to a good depth. You can put it either side, but I like putting it on the side where it's going to drift underneath the boat, because a lot of boats don't have bottom paint on them. And like my boat's, camera just fell. Like my boat's got a white bottom on it, so it's going to reflect a lot of the light back down, and if the boat had bottom paint, I'm thinking it would probably reflect a little bit down also, but not as much as a white bottom boat would. So here we actually don't have that much current, but yeah, the light's starting to go a little bit underneath the boat, so all you're going to do with that, make sure you tie it off. It's tied off, and then on the other end it's usually going to have
battery clips, and you just hook it to a battery. My battery's down in there. I don't really want to go hook it up, plus you can't even see it, it's daylight. But I'll usually bring like a little, like a lawnmower battery. It's not that big, and that works perfectly fine for the light. And also, it's nice to have another battery. I brought car batteries before, but that's total pain in the ass because it's a big, heavy battery to carry around. And just gonna hook that up. Preferably, you want it. I'd put it on that side, even if it wasn't going on the boat, so you don't have a wire just going across the boat. Which can make things complicated. So you got the light in the water. Now it's time to put lines out. And I have the harpoon with me, but the harpoon, you're gonna want to wait until you have a fish on, so you make it as hectic as possible, but that usually has pretty good luck. And even if I'm not fishing, why are you so close to me? Yeah, so now you're gonna have your lines out. So, hi. Okay, so at least when you're out there, you probably won't have to deal with people because there'll probably be 1 or 2 boats. So yeah, now you're out here, you got a sword light in the water, you're gonna wait to put the harpoon together so it's hectic as possible once you have a fish on. And now you're gonna put the lines out. So, I didn't bring a squid. I was thinking about it. I have like a fake squid somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So for the representation of the squid, I'm just gonna use a lure, so I don't get the boat all nasty, smelly with squid. So you remember these little flasher lights I have? You don't have to put these on. I like it just because it adds a little something to it. So you're gonna put that on the snap swivel. Then you're gonna put the squid leader on, which the leader is probably gonna be like 5 foot long. So that's why I like using the wind-ons, because once you reel the swivel to the tip of the rod, the fish is gonna probably be about 5-6 feet away from the boat. So that's like perfect length. So you got it. It's gonna look like this. Of course, it's gonna be a little bit longer. Make sure the snap swivel's on or closed. So you're gonna put this out, and you can put like lights with rubber bands somewhere else on the line you want. You can do whatever the hell you want. I really don't think it matters all that much. It doesn't have to be all that specific. So here you can see this is gonna be the start of the wind on. This is the Dacron, which I'll show how to make these in another video. And here's the wax floss on to help knot it so it doesn't slide back up. So what I do here with the wax floss, I try to make the wax floss a little bit longer just for this purpose. Is you're taking your light with the weight and the long line clip, and you're gonna just clip it on. Like here, I try to put it more so on the mono side of the wax floss instead of the Dacron side, because I don't know if it'll affect how it cinches down or not. Just something I do. I just always put it on the mono. So you clip it on like that. Again, make sure you do this yourself. Don't trust anyone else to do this. But it goes on the inside, like so. So then, see, it stays there. If you shake it pretty hard, it'll slide down. It's not gonna straight stay on. So now you got the weight out, and you're gonna want to let it down. So here I'm in 30 feet of water. I don't really want to hit the bottom, so I'm not gonna put it as far as I would. But this one is the straight butt rod, which is gonna be the float rod. And this one, it's my shallow one, which I think you can see it. Yeah, you can see it right here on the reel. That's another wax floss thing where I would be tying putting the long line clip on. And this is about 75 feet deep. So your bait, the weight should be down 75 feet. And then you're gonna come over here. You're gonna get a buoy, balloon, whatever, and with the glow stick, and you're just gonna, well, here, show you perfect time. If you don't have the wax floss, you can also use rubber bands. Put the rubber band around it a few times just so it doesn't slide. Like that, and then you're just gonna put it through each one of the loops, so it's gonna come out looking like this with a loop on one side. And then you're gonna take the long line clip, again how you attach the other one, through the rubber band, and then onto the line, or you can put it back onto the rubber band so it won't slide for sure. So it's gonna look like that. Then, just gonna let it out, and hopefully you'll have enough current that it drifts away from the boat. straight toward the engine, perfect. And we're gonna have to switch sides here. So now you're sword fishing, and you're gonna wanna, I just usually will put this in free spool and it'll go out. It'll pull line. Sometimes you might have to motor away. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna have 2 of these, which you can use as many as you want, but essentially you're gonna do the same thing for each one. And you're just gonna wanna make sure it's a little bit farther away from the boat before you start putting the other line out. So it's gonna sit like this in the water. And if a fish bites it, a number of different things can happen. Either you'll just see the buoy go down, or you'll see the buoy go up and down a bunch, means like the fish is hitting it with the bill, or it'll just take off. A lot of the time, you won't even hear anything, and you'll just be looking out and you'll see a glow of light on the surface, which means it's your light that the swordfish just ran straight up to the surface, which a lot of times swordfish will run straight up to the surface when they get a bite. Sometimes you can see them jump, but it's dark out, so it's hard to see. But a little bit, you got your light in the water, which the light, I've had a bunch of swordfish come up to the boat, whether it's because there was a light or not, I have no idea. But essentially, the light's doing the same thing as the light on your rod is doing. It's attracting little bait fish and stuff, or if there's a swordfish running around, he's going, what the heck is that light? Comes check it out. But pretty much is what you're thinking is it's attracting smaller fish, which in turn is going to attract a swordfish. But I like it more so is just for like safety, so you can actually see what the heck is happening in the water, because it's pitch black out and that's the only light. But that's the point of that. So now you're gonna have your rod out there. So the baits should be 75 feet down, and then however far out depends on how many more lines you're gonna put. But you're gonna want to put the shallowest bait out first, then the next deepest, then the deepest.
Alright, so one thing I forgot to show when I was on the boat was I was going to show an alternative to using these buoys, because I'm not too sure where you can buy them. I'm sure a fishing shop or anything similar to this. I've seen people make some with a PVC pipe inside of a regular pool noodle. You have to probably cut them so they're, I think, about that big, but it'll generally do the same thing. There's several different ways to make these, but I was going to show the easier way that most people are probably going to use, and it's with balloons. So you're just going to get a regular party balloon and blow it up. So you're going to blow up the balloon like this, and then you're going to get, I guess it's packing tape. It's considered as this mailing and storage tape. It doesn't have to be really anything specific. It doesn't really matter all that much. Even like regular tape will work. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're gonna take your glow stick. You're gonna find about the top of the balloon. Take a piece of tape. And tape it on. It's going to look like that. So when it's floating in the water, this is also a little bit easier to tell, and since it's top heavy with the float, if there's going to be the line coming down to your bait, and if a swordfish grabs it and swims up, it's going to put slack, so it's just going to fall over like that, and then you won't see the glow stick anymore, and you'll know something's happening. But then I'll show you how to attach the line. Pretend this is going to be your line right here, this red line. And you're going to be using it in the same spot that you put the float. But what you're going to do is you're going to take a rubber band, and how you did it before. All it is, it's pretty easy to do. All it is, you're just taking the rubber band, wrapping one side around it a few times. So then you're going to have 2 loops like this. You're going to put one loop through the other. So then it stays on like that, and it's going to have one loop looking like that. Then you're going to take 2 of your fingers like this, peace sign. You're going to put the peace sign sort of like that, and you're going to bend it up like this. So then you're going to make one loop like that. So it's like a loop that'll tighten down on itself like this. So it's going to look like, I'm trying to show my hands away. So it's going to look like this. Then you're going to to take the part where you inflate the balloon, put it through, and then tighten it up. So that now the balloon's going to be on the line. Grab it. It'll look like this on the line, and it won't slide up or down. So this will serve in the place of the buoy with the long line clip. With this, you might have to clip off, but you could probably break the rubber band and just pull it off. But I like using the buoys better because sometimes the balloons will either pop or they'll come off in the water, and then you're like littering the water, which isn't that good of a thing. I guess sea turtles seem to like balloons, I've heard, since it looks like jellyfish or something. But this is another method of doing it.
All right, so now, say you have a fish on, or you're just checking the bait, you're gonna just reel it in. It's gonna come up, and all you're gonna do is, if you have the wax floss on it, it's gonna be a lot easier to do this instead of the rubber band. But you can break it, pull it off, but you're just gonna unhook it and unhook that. You can leave the rubber band on, it really won't make that much of a difference. You can take it off if you like, it doesn't matter. But that's why you like using the wax floss. So you're just gonna reel it up. Need some oil on my reel. Then get the weight. It's gonna be a lot easier because it's gonna be away from the boat if there's a fish on it. Just unhook it like that, it comes right off. And there's your bait. Like I said, it's gonna be a longer leader, so this is snap swivel's at the top, tip of the rod. Careful not to reel it in, but it's gonna be right there in the water. Do whatever you want with the fish right there. Perfect. Now I'm gonna show you what is called the tip rod, which you're doing the exact same thing, just you're not putting a float on it. So I'll just reuse this. You're gonna do the same thing. Got the snap swivel. You're gonna want to put a flashing light on it. You can if you want. You don't have to. I do. This is what I do. And you put it on like this. It's good to go. And on this one, I have a little bit longer of a leader on it, a wind-on leader. This one might be actually too long for how shallow I'm fishing. But this one's a little bit longer because this rod has the hollow core line on it. With the monofilament, it has enough. This is more for, I made it longer so there's more stretch in it a little bit. And on the monofilament, that line already stretches enough, so there's nothing with that. So here's the start of the wind-on with the wax floss. Here's the Dacron, here's the mono. Same exact thing. Flip it on the wax floss on the mono side, and down it goes. You're gonna want to let that down. This one happens to be set, I have a wax floss in it, at 120 feet. Usually I'm fishing my baits, how my rods are set up, it's 75 feet. On the first float rod, the second float rod will be 225 feet. The first tip rod will be 120 feet, and then the second tip rod is going to be 300 feet. So you're covering a pretty good spectrum of depth there. And all this is ready to fish, it's going. Sometimes people, they like to just slowly like let the line creep out. That's a little bit too much, like just like this sort of. Just let it go all the way down, however deep, so it's just a moving line. Or sometimes when it's out, a lot of people just like to reel it up a few feet, just leave it, just to give it some like action so it looks like it's moving and stuff. But yeah, that's all you do for the line setup. Like I said, it's pretty easy fishing. Now all you do is just sit there and wait till something happens. Alright, so now you got a fish on, everyone's really excited, bunches of things are happening, you're moving the boat around. Now is the perfect time to set up the harpoon. You can set it up beforehand, it's probably a better idea, but usually this is how it goes down. So this harpoon is called a Poon harpoon, Poon's the company. And this is a really, really good harpoon. So it comes together like this, all wrapped up in this nice bag, which I need to get a new one because it's old. So here's the harpoon. This is the top side of it. And this goes together like so. It's actually the one side's frozen in there because I didn't take it out, so I can't get it out. but I guess it works well, so then you just have two pieces to put together. So this is what the handle side of it is going to look like. It's pretty big. Next, you're going to put the weighted end of it, which also the other tip screws into this. This is pretty heavy. It's probably like a pound or two. Screws in. Everything just screws together nicely, so this is why it's not too complicated to put together and the heat of fish is on. Then you're going to screw in the next part of it. I'll explain. This is a paint stick right here, and I'll show what that's for. So then there's the end of it, and then now for the dart part of it, this I need to sharpen a little bit, but that's a dart. Once it goes, it's going to go into the fish's side, so then when you pull it back, it catches like this, so then it won't pull out. And usually you're going to want to aim for about the gills of the fish. So then this goes on like so, and then this you can do any number of different ways. This is what someone told me to do, but this, you can see the paint stick's broken. I need to get on. It says stir stick for paint, and all you do is you take this and you push it in. This is probably about to break, so I should be careful with it. I won't push it all the way through. But yeah, so it stays like that. That just keeps the tip on. You can do it with tape, rubber bands, anything that'll break away. This just works perfect because it pulls out right away. And this end, it's going to go to your harpoon line, which can be whatever. I don't actually have a harpoon line, so I'm using a dock line. I had like a 25-foot little skinnier rope that I used, and that's worked for me. A lot of people will probably use like a 100-foot line, like an anchor line or something, tied to like a poly ball or some sort of buoy, which is probably the better way to go, because the fish runs, it's not going to just go up 25 feet. It's going to go wherever it wants. So that's probably the better idea. But if you do it with without the poly ball and stuff, a good way to set up the harpoon line is just take a regular dock line, go to whatever side your cleats are on the back of the boat. Usually there should be two cleats on the boat, so you're going to tie one here, and then say this is going to be your harpoon line with to attach the harpoon, which I will. Put the one dock line to the other, pull it all the way through, and then you're going to tie the dock line to the other side. So there, it's tied. This is the harpoon line on the dock line. So what this does, as you can see, it should slide back and forth. It's got a little knot in it. It's going to slide back and forth fairly easily. So when you got a fish on, that fish is going to go wherever it wants. It's not going to probably come up on one side every time. This will allow you to go from side to side of the boat, and then once you stick the fish, it'll go to whatever side you're on, and then it's pulling like that. If it's a really big fish, it's probably not a good idea to do it because that might pull your cleat out. But yeah, and that's that. So this is just going to be better knotted onto your harpoon line for this. I'm just going to tie it on. So, that's on like that. Got your line on, you can hold it. You're going to want to make sure you're on the outside of it, because once you stick the fish, you don't want to be caught in here in between the fish and the line. That's bad for you. So when the fish is going to come up, just going to see it, you're going to wait. A lot of people can throw it. I don't have mine rigged as you can throw it, but that's the cool thing about this. And I try to hold it as far away as it came out of the paint stick, but all that's going to happen is the fish is going to come up. Usually they'll spiral sometimes, and you're just going to wait for the right time, and then you're going to stick it a lot harder than that. But a lot of time it's best if you put your hand here on the end, and then you just like push really, really hard as you can. Try to aim for the gills. That's the softest part, but it's also one of the stronger parts, because if you hit the skin, it might not go all the way through. And it'll rip out easier, but the gills, it's an easy spot to aim for, and it'll go in easy, but it won't come out easy, so that's what's good. And then right here you can see it already fell out, but that's the point of it. And then this detaches off, and so this will be in the fish, and that's in the water. And yeah, then you got another safety. Then you can use this to pull it up, or you can still use your rod to reel it in, but that's for that. And then come over with your gaff, and hopefully you landed your swordfish.
All right, so now I'm going to show you what I keep talking about, the wax floss, wax loops on the line. So what you're going to need is wax floss, which you can get, buy it. I think it comes in different sizes, but so I think this is a little bit on the thicker side of what wax floss comes in. So it's pretty easy to do. All you're going to do is, this is your line right here, and you're going to pull out however big you're going to think you're going to make it. Just pull out enough to make sure. So you're going to take it out, and I like to make sure it's even on both sides. So I'm going to make this like a loop sorta, and you're going to put it around the line, and you're just going to tie a regular knot. Pretty much the only type of knot you're going to be using, just a regular old knot. Tie the knot on the line. So now you got two sides to the wax floss, and you're just going to keep tying knots with the one side of the wax floss onto the line. You're going to do it, pretty much you're just going to do it as many times as however long you want the line to come out. And this is a lot easier to do on the rod because the line will stay tight, unlike how it's doing right now. But yeah, like there you can see when I tried to tighten it, right now it slides, but once you put enough knots into it, it'll stay tight on the line and it won't slide. But I'm just going to do a couple times. So now, say you're going to get it as long as you want on the line, and to end the knot part of it, you're just going to put a couple, I like to do it 3 or 4 times for the knot. I didn't count how many times. I think that's about 4 times. But see it now, you can see down here, this is where the knots are adding up together to make the loop that you're going to eventually make. And what you're going to take is, you can see this side is where the monofilament is with the knot, and this is just the wax floss here. You're going to take it, and you're going to just take the wax floss side of it and wrap it around sort of reverse, like this. It's if you've ever tied a bimini twist, it's similar how you would end the bimini twist, like that. And then it's going to come with a loop, and then you're just going to take the tag end of the wax floss and then just pull it tight. But you can see I didn't put enough knots, it's still slipping, but for the purposes of this. So then it's going to look like this. So you can see this is one tag end of the wax floss, and then this would be the other end of the wax floss that we haven't started tying knots. But that's how you end that, and then you're just going to want to clip off the access of it. So it looks like that. You can make it a little smaller if you want, or a little bit bigger, it doesn't really matter. Just enough so that it stays. So that's how you do the one side of it, and then all you're going to do for the other side is the exact same thing. Keep making just regular overhand knots on the line. Again, it's going to be easier to do on the rod, but there's 2 ways you could do this. The one way, you just do the same knots all the way through and then end it, and then what that's going to create on the line is how I say on the I use for depth markers on the line, where I attach my weights and lights to it, or the buoy or the balloon to it. But you can make it so that you can have a loop in it, and all you do is, to do that, it's pretty easy. You just take the access tag end of the wax floss and sort of make however big a loop you think you're going to want. So you're going to want it like that big, and then you just hold it, hold the loop, then you're going to want to tie your knots Gonna have to maybe keep it so it doesn't cinch down on itself. And then keep tying your knots. So you can see like that. Now we got a loop with the wax floss right here. Then that you can hook whatever you want to it. You can use this for even any other kinds of fishing that you just want it always on the line with a loop that you can use. And so yeah, you just keep doing that. And you just keep tying as many knots so it doesn't slip, or however big you want the wax marking loop or whatever on the line. So yeah, and it's like that. Then you finish it again. Just put it through 3 or 4 times. I'll just do 3. So that's 3 times, and then remember, you just take the wax floss tag in side sorta and just reverse it on the monofilament side of it. Again, how like you end a bimini twist, and then you pull tight, and then clip it. So yeah, it's probably gonna look a lot better if you make it longer, but this is what it looks like. It's short, but I'd make it probably about like this long, I'd say, on the line, just so you had a little bit of movement. Then right there you can put the long line clips on it like I did when I was putting the lines out, or you got the little loop here that you can attach whatever you want for it. So that's how you make the wax floss. It's pretty easy. Again, just a couple of times practice and you'll learn it. Alright, so I think I've showed everything I need to show to make this video on how to swordfish. So hopefully this helped out some of you that maybe you've been wondering about swordfishing, and hopefully I made it a lot easier to understand, because like I said, it's really not that hard. It just takes some practice, and once you get everything down and ready to go, you'll just get the lines out and swordfish, and then you just sit there and wait for something to happen. So hopefully this helped you out. And I'm thinking I might make some more tutorial, I guess it would be, on some other fishing stuff. But let me know if you want to see something. I'm open to ideas for some fishing videos and stuff, because this was actually pretty fun to make, and I didn't think I was going to put this much work into the video, but I think it's going to turn out pretty good. So yeah, let me know about that, and if you have any questions at all, you can hit me up on Twitter or Facebook. I'll have links in the description, and of course in the comment section on the YouTube video that you're watching this on. So comment there, let me know if you have questions. I can try and help you out with whatever, and go fishing and go try and catch a swordfish. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this.